you would actually feel really special. The Kate Dalley Show starts now.
This is my happy place. I love being up here in space. It's just fun. You know, every day you do something that's work, quote unquote. You can do it upside down. You can do it sideways. So it adds a little different perspective. And, you know, about staying up here longer.
As they circled endlessly around the Earth, the pair insisted they were not stuck in space, as the global news media kept saying, and were, in fact, having a lovely time up there.
Get ready for
and Christmas in December.
It's a great time of year up here. We get to spend it with all of our family up on the International Space Station.
They stayed busy up there with scientific experiments. Williams also participated in a spacewalk in January. Finally, a new spacecraft blasted off for the station. Not Boeing this time, but one of Elon Musk's SpaceX Dragons. The astronauts said farewell to their space friends and, along with a Russian and an American crew member, boarded the Dragon for the ride home.
Interesting. A couple things I noticed on that, by the way. I don't know. I didn't realize that you could get your roots done in space. Sunny came back with her roots all done. So that was after the almost year up in space. So that was kind of an interesting thing. I was a little shocked by that. I didn't know you could do that. And I was so glad that they all had Christmas gear, like Christmas hats and things like that, that were stored away for them to use just in case they got stuck up there way longer than the original mission. I think was 10 days or something. So anyway, on that note, I just want to say hi to Melissa. Midwest Melissa's on with me. Well, welcome to the Kate Dalley Show.
I just have to jump in here, Kate, because she just said you could do all these things in so many different ways. Maybe she did her roots upside down.
Maybe so. I mean,
I'm thinking she did.
They love to do the whole upside down thing. And so, yeah, I guess it's super fun up there when you're stuck up there with not enough supplies. And anyways,
I wondered if they played ground control to Major Tom at the emanating point.
I don't know, but there's something really
and here's
wonky.
A message from the president, and they play ground
There's something
control
wonky about that whole story. Yeah, there was some really weird things. So that honestly, a lot of people were talking about. So I know that I'm in shared information land with a lot of people going, what? This is a little too much.
Can I tell you my favorite part, though?
Okay.
My absolute favorite part was after the capsule splashed down and the dolphins appeared. So
frolicking was the word that the media kept using. The dolphins were frolicking. Go ahead.
If you're a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide stuff, my husband, I was showing my husband, and he goes, "Were the dolphins singing so long? And thanks for all the fish."
You know, it's so fascinating that in 1969 we were able to, with zero technology, not even a remote that actually really truly worked for a TV, we were able to have zero problems. But in the year 2025, we have them stuck up there, and I'm not quite sure why why Elon's rocket didn't go up and take them out of space, when the mission ended. So it's a little weird. Well, I guess we're supposed to believe all that.
I can totally believe that. Look who was the president. I can totally believe that Biden was like, what?
Right.
Did no one have the auto pen to sign the order to go get him? Who knows?
NASA does what NASA wants with its big black budget that no one seems to know where that money's really going. And so I just find the whole thing there's so many things about it that are so insane. And I just had to point some of them out. I guess we're just going to keep being fed these stories that never make sense, but everybody is supposed to get emotional. So I think the whole reason for the story was so that we would all get really super emotional and create sort of this story where we wanted them home. So anyway, with that pushed aside, and we have JFK files in the next hour with Susan, I can't wait to get into this hour with you, Melissa.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
I'm
let's
excited.
roll. Let's roll.
I spent all day yesterday in the company of Charles Manson, and that is never a great place to be. So I'm glad to be here with you. You're much better company.
Thanks. Thank you.
It wouldn't take much.
Yeah,
Charles
that's a
Manson,
huge compliment. Thanks.
That's
all right.
me. That's
so
always.
why were you studying Charles Manson?
Well, I ran across an article that was making the connection between Charles Manson, what this article was saying by George Webb, by the way. He was kind of hinting around that Charles Manson and Jeffrey Epstein were running the same gig. And I was like, wait, no, that's not right. And so you dig into the stories and maybe it is right. Which is fascinating, but it's a complicated story. And it takes a lot. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts with both men. So I had to go back and really take a look at Manson and what did I know about Manson and what was he really up to and doing. So let's start at this place. And I think this is really important to know, and we'll come back to it again. Both of these men were preying on women to run their operation that were, though Charles Manson wasn't the only nutty one, right? The women were kind of on the edge too.
Right.
And I believe that both of those men, Charles Manson, with the assistance of some other players that we'll mention in a minute, and Epstein, were running an operation where they were looking for women who could be used as bait. They were looking for the most beautiful, the most tempting women that they could put in the way of powerful people to coerce, control, subvert, get blackmail on them. Charles Manson's MO, he wanted to break into the music industry, but he was also, I think, obviously mentally unstable. And I think he had a dissociative personality, to be totally honest. I think he had been abused as a child. He was abused by the system. He was a product. I did not know this until I read it, that when they released him on parole, he declined. He said, I don't want out. I belong in prison. I don't want to leave. But leave he did, right? And he was almost pushed into the hands of Dr. Jolly West at the Berkeley Free Medical Clinic, which, if you were going to pick someone that Jolly West would want, Manson would be the guy.
Right. And maybe because he wanted to get out of his troubles and they promised him relief from those troubles, shall we say. And maybe
I think so what, just a quick recap for anybody who doesn't know who Jolly West is. He's one of the key players in MK Ultra. And his job he says, I listened to an interview yesterday with Jolly West in which he says, we were running a human laboratory out of the Berkeley Free Clinic. The free clinic was there to dispense LSD to as many people as they could. And so the Berkeley Free Clinic, located at the intersection of Haight and Ashbury, right in the heart of the summer of love, right?
Right.
Here comes this crazy dissociative guy who actually did have some musical talent, who wants to break into the music industry. And the CIA is kind of interested in how they can take the heat out of the anti-war protest movement. And I think they see Charles Manson as the guy to do it for him.
Okay.
So they stalk him up. He had girls following after him for reasons I will never fully understand, except those women were also mentally unstable. They were also getting their free LSD at the clinic, and all these people are connected through that clinic.
Yeah, big CIA operation.
Big time. Manson has a bus that he calls the Hollywood Express, puts all these girls on there, and they take them. He goes to LA. Now, if I think about the times, of all the people that he would bump into, he becomes fast friends with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Right.
The drummer from the Beach Boys. Very odd, right?
Yeah.
But Dennis Wilson introduces him to Terry Melcher, the son of Doris Day, and a big-time record producer for all kinds of Laurel Canyon kind of bands.
Yes, we've done shows on Laurel Canyon. Laurel Canyon was a total CIA op, but go ahead.
But here's the part that maybe we're not so aware of, that Manson was providing bikini-clad girls, his girls, to all of these big-time music parties.
Like a pimp?
It sounds perhaps sort of pimpish. You could say that.
It sounds a little prostitute-ish.
In the same way that Jeffrey Epstein was providing access to girls.
Interesting.
And Manson also, his girls also came packaged with as much LSD as you could take. And it was through those channels that the whole LSD culture that developed in LA and in the music scene is born.
Wow. That's a lot of connection. Epstein and Manson. I haven't really thought about those connections.
No, me either. I never had either. Well, let's push it a little bit farther.
Okay.
And we know that eventually Sharon Tate, we've got to talk a little bit about Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski. The woman that Manson is famed for the murder of Sharon Tate and her friends on Cielo Drive. So who is Sharon Tate? Sharon Tate, another woman with a horrible personal history. She was beautiful, but not very emotionally robust. She wasn't very strong. And she connects to Roman Polanski, who is a kind of take charge kind of guy. And to the point that Roman Polanski told her how to dress, how to wear her hair, what kind of makeup to wear. And he also put her in compromising positions with all kinds of celebrities that he was filming.
Okay, we're getting, ooh, Epsteinish. Okay, I get this. Yeah. Okay, be right back. Interesting. And some more very wild connections coming up with Midwest Melissa, having to do actually with today's news too. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Hush, hush. She broke my heart, but I love her just say now. Hush, hush. Thought I heard her call.
Welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. Remember, there's a 2-for-1 going on, and this was such a big hit in November. They're doing it again. allfamilypharmacy.com. You can go to allfamilypharma.com or allfamilypharmacy.com, and you can get ivermectin, fembenzenol, and 2-for-1 it. I mean, how awesome is that? A huge BOGO sale going on right now. Take advantage of it. You're going to love this. Man, you guys loved it in November. So go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate, or you can put in the code Kate10. But the easiest way to do it is allfamilypharmacy.com. It goes to the same place, pharmacy, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate, and order up on your BOGO. Okay. Buy one, get one. So welcome back. And I've got Melissa with me. There's way more to this story. And I think one of the biggest things is we, even going to the JFK files, which we'll do in the next hour too, we're not realizing how much the CIA was busy doing against the people of America. And everybody at the time thought it was all about foreign interests, and it never was. It was about the psychological operations. Something very, very big going on with Laurel Canyon, the music scene, the 60s, the 50s. Very crazy. Okay, Melissa, start from where you just left off. Sorry about that.
So we need to kind of pivot around and take a look at Sharon Tate for a minute.
Okay.
Like I said, Sharon Tate, beautiful, beautiful woman, but very emotionally and psychologically fragile. She had been sexually molested when she was 17 years old. And I think that she's one of those beautiful people that never really developed the things came easy to her. Let's put it that way. And so she didn't develop a backbone to say no. And when she connected up with Roman Polanski was a connection to her of all kinds of very dark things. Roman Polanski, the director of Rosemary's Baby, a really heinous satanic movie.
Creepy, yep.
And he was into satanic things. And he was actually using Sharon as bait. And they were having these crazy parties, orgy parties, that were full of every kind of illicit drug. And Roman Polanski was filming Sharon Tate being abused, if you will, sexually abused in threesomes, in whatever kind of combination.
So just picture a Diddy party or an Epstein party. Yes, and you pretty much got that nailed. Okay.
It is very much the same thing. So the conventional story is always that, why did Manson pick her? How did they end up at Cielo Drive? It was just random, right?
Right.
Well, it had been Terry Melcher's house. Maybe he was after Terry Melcher because he wanted a big record deal. But there is also this kind of rumor that has circulated that there was a hit offered, that Charles Manson was offered $25,000 to put a hit on Sharon Tate. Why her? She was one of the last people to see RFK alive.
Ooh, that's juicy.
And that she was, here's the speculation, that she was to Bobby Kennedy what Marilyn Monroe was to John Kennedy. That there were forces inside the government that were controlling those two very powerful men through women that were being offered as bait to control them. That Marilyn may have been providing drugs to JFK, and Sharon almost certainly was providing some of that to Bobby.
Ooh.
And
this
that
is getting
she
juicy.
knew,
okay,
she knew maybe a little more than she should have known about his assassination, and she needed to be eliminated.
Wow.
And that not Bobby, but that Charles Manson was the perfect vehicle. That did so many things, right?
Right.
Because it vilified the hippies. It made LSD culture look horrible. It did all those things that the government wanted people to think. And in many ways, Charles Manson was those evil, wicked things. But it also cleared Sharon Tate out of the way.
You're right. And so he was a little CIA hitman who possibly got 25 grand to eliminate her because she was too friendly with RFK.
Perhaps. Perhaps. I can't offer you any receipts on that. Just something to think about.
Okay.
How, if you look for patterns of behavior in the government.
No, it's interesting links for sure. I'm going to come right back. More with Midwest. Fascinating. Interesting. More with Midwest Melissa when I come back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.
Well, hello everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. just painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfthestudio.com.
All across the USA, it's another year for me and you.
The Stooges. I bet you don't remember that one. I bet there's songs that are so obscure. I mean, this might have been their one-hit wonder. I don't know. But 1969. Anyway, welcome back. Kate Dalley Show. I got Melissa, Midwest Melissa with me in this hour every Wednesday. And she's talking about some fascinating connections, maybe connections we haven't made. I know some of them are kind of new to me, thinking, I've never really connected the way that Epstein is doing things and Diddy to Roman Polanski, to Sharon Tate, to the Kennedys. Very interesting stuff in light of what's coming down the pike with the JFK files. So welcome. And I love that you're making some of these connections. I also wanted to mention Cozy Earth. Go to cozyearth.com and they make the finest, most luxurious bedding of your life. So this is so worth doing to support truth in radio and honesty in radio. And we give you what we're honestly looking at and studying, and no holds barred. So really appreciate your support in listening. But this is a way that you can actually support truth in radio, is actually go to cozyearth.com. They are a sponsor willing to sponsor this show. So this is amazing. So go get these luxurious sheets. Feel good about it at 40% off using the code Kate. And then you're supporting and doing something for truth in radio, which I love. All right, Melissa, a couple of things. Number one, you have got to kind of batten down that hatch of Sharon's involvement with the Kennedys again.
So I did kind of try to do a deep dive and look for something that pointed me in the direction that she had any contact with him. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that you get, but it's powerful enough, is that Sharon Tate was very heavily involved in his presidential campaign.
Which one?
In 60, what year? 68?
So, RFK.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, RFK, yes. Not JFK.
RFK.
No, this is RFK. This is Bobby.
Right.
She was connected to Bobby. And there were extremely powerful people that were trying to control him as well. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that the DNC actually wanted Bobby because he was anti-war.
Yeah.
And so
but they always, the only people that elevate to the position for the presidency past 1905 would be people picked, people vetted, right? And so of course there were a couple in the early days of the 1900s that like Harding and a couple of them, Coolidge, that kind of showed their muscle. They didn't the New World Order didn't love that very much, but at this point in time, you were going to do the bidding if you were going to be president. It's always been that way and it's never changed. But so amazing. Okay, keep going. So,
well, there's another angle of this that I have not run down yet, which is the connection of the Chicago mob in Sharon Tate's life, in the life of Hollywood, in all of that. And that may also play a role. I can't speak to that right now because I haven't.
You did mention on the break, because I want you to make this point. You did mention to me that this is what the book Chaos is kind of missing, right?
Oh, yeah. Tom O'Neill, if you've read the book Chaos, which is a brilliant book, and Tom O'Neill right now has a documentary on Manson out right now called Chaos. And I watched all of it to kind of review what I thought I knew. And Tom O'Neill makes the statement that he could research Manson forever and there will always be something that he's missed. And when I'm looking at this whole story, I think this is what he missed. Tom O'Neill is brilliant at connecting Manson to MK Ultra, to the CIA, to all that stuff. But he doesn't really ever tell you or explain to you why did Manson do this? Well, why did he do this? And the explanation is always just, well, Manson was crazy. He was just crazy. That's it.
Yeah.
But
I don't believe it for a
other
second.
Motives.
Yeah. Well,
even for crazy people, a motive is a motive. You know, you can give a crazy person a pretty powerful motive. And the benefit of having a crazy person do this is that he's totally expendable at the end.
Well, and And keep in mind, too, that people like Tom O'Neill, these award-winning, air quote, investigative journalists, will do a pretty good job. And everyone thinks that that's the whole banana, but it's not usually going to be, because there's going to be some of the very important information, like the stuff you're bringing up today, that is not going to be included in these books, because they don't want people to make connections like this. They don't.
Well, I actually think that Tom O'Neill has been a very reputable. The level of investigation he's done on this is amazing. However, if you don't know to open the door to that closet, I think that's just a door he hasn't opened.
Maybe.
And hard to say whether he is controlled or not. I don't think on much of the book he's been controlled, but who knows?
Right.
I mean, we can put our tinfoil hats on and go any direction with this. So let's kind of, if you accept that Manson was running, and Manson truly was providing girls that would do anything on the LA music scene. So Dennis Hopper had Manson girls at parties of his. The Beach Boys had Manson girls at their parties, and who all was also in attendance at those parties. They were given tremendous access to very high profile people on the LA scene at the time.
Right.
So let's pivot over and talk a little bit more about Epstein then. So here's the playbook that Manson was using. We're going to recruit girls up at the Haight-Ashbury. We're going to take them to a new location, and that's where we run the con. We run the game in a new location. Is that not exactly what Epstein was doing? He was recruiting girls in Palm Beach and culling them for the most beautiful, most provocative, most malleable, most controllable. And then he was actually taking them out of the country to Little St. James Island, where they would be beyond the reach of Florida law enforcement.
Right. And New Mexico.
And U.S. enforcement.
And New Mexico, because he had a big place there. And the governor would just sort of, quote unquote, overlook whatever was going on there, too. Because he had lots of cameras in those places, too. Yeah.
Well, I think, I honestly believe that the real action with Epstein was happening out of the country, because he was untouchable there. And there is another very interesting, Epstein is not running the drugs con. He's running the investment. He's appealing to people's greed. And when they invited very high roller people to Little St. James Island, and they got them there by saying, hey, we have got investment deals you just can't believe. And once you get them there, then you put these girls that are irresistible in front of them. You can compromise these people, and then you own them forever. And he believes, so there's a whole rash of information. Why aren't we gonna see the Epstein files? Remember, they were gonna release them.
Yeah.
But then they didn't. We haven't learned much new.
Yeah.
Is it because they're still playing the con?
Yeah, I do believe they are. Yeah, and they're willing to expend a couple of people in not political, but in the arena, to make it look like they're solving the issue, right? Solving the problem. But it's much bigger. There's many more players under this umbrella, and so we'll all be led to believe that the biggest villains are either dead or in prison, which I don't know about either one of those things. Actually, I think there's just so many cons going on. It's hard to get to the root. So,
well, there's another sideline to the Epstein story that's crazy.
Okay, I'll hold you right there. We're gonna go to break real fast. We'll come back on that too. Be right back on the Kate Dalley Show. Some interesting connections by Midwest Melissa. Be right back. Right back. Don't go anywhere. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
No, I won't back down. You could stare me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down.
Love this song. All right. Great choice, Melissa. Midwest Melissa's on with me. You're listening to the Kate Dalley Show. For this podcast, to re-listen to this and send it to friends and family and put it on social media, just go to katedalleyradio.com, katedalleyradio.com, and you can scroll down. You can find the sponsors and you can find the podcast there. Also on X America News, you can watch it every evening for free. Isn't that great? X America News, they have a huge following and they're doing a great job. And also on Rumble, Kate Dalley Show on Rumble as well. So check out the show. And of course, coming back with Midwest Melissa, I have to say that it's all in asking the right questions and going and looking at the details of things people say and zeroing in on those to find as we go down these rabbit holes. I have to say this is a great rabbit hole just because I think, like you said, there's all these connections that people never really have talked about. I love this. Thanks, Midwest Melissa.
Well, thank you. And I just want to reiterate, there's no receipts on this.
Right.
There's at least none that I am aware of. And you just have to kind of take the beautiful mind trip, you know, where you've got your ball of yarn and you're going to say, I'm going to go from here to there, to there, to there.
Right.
And wonder, you have to be willing to entertain the thought.
Yes.
Like, could that be true?
Right. Right. And looking at
does it make
obvious.
more sense if it's true, or does it make more sense? Does the crazed killer that controls these women and just randomly kills somebody make more sense, or does it make more sense that it was a deliberate act?
Yeah. Deliberate
which
act.
makes more sense.
Yeah. And that he was conditioned and primed in the little CIA ops out of San Francisco as an informant and as a possible hitman. Manson, it makes more sense. Totally to his story. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's add, I want to add one more thing about the Epstein case that is in a parallel sort of world. Remember I told you Roman Polanski was videotaping Sharon Tate in all these compromising not just to her, but to all the men that she was with. And after Epstein died, a man named Patrick Kessler contacted 2 of the attorneys that were representing the Epstein victims. And he made contact with John Stanley Pottinger and David Boies.
Okay.
Here's what Kessler said. He said, I was hired by Epstein to make a complete backup of all the videotapes that he has. Epstein's dead, and now I have access to that entire archive of everything. Are you interested? And the story here is that at the end of the day, that these 2 attorneys began to think, you know, we could shake down the men more effectively and for more money than defending these victims. So how come it is, we might ask ourselves, that the police took loads of these videotapes out of Cielo Drive, but we have never heard anything about them since?
It's reminiscent of the Epstein files and the Diddy information. Yes. And the JFK files and so many things in his. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
How come it is then eventually these guys began to suspect that Kessler didn't really have what he said he had? Or does he have it and someone else offered a better price? Who knows? Who knows? But that whole playbook, recruit girls here, take them there, use them as bait to entrap powerful people for your own financial or control purposes.
Yeah.
And so just like Manson was an operator, and we've never really fully grasped who was behind him pulling his levers, so it is with Epstein. We don't really ever ask that question. We think that Epstein was he was a lone wolf out there that created this whole thing.
That's what the narrative says. Yes. They want us to believe.
No, no, not so much. Ghislaine Maxwell's father is Sir Robert Maxwell, famed of Mossad connections and MI5. The fingerprints of seriously big intel operations is all over both Epstein and Manson. And I think before we're done, it's going to be Diddy as well.
And 9/11 and all kinds of things and things that they've done. Those imprint of those fingerprints kind of all over the place with Mossad. So very interesting. Yeah.
So do you think we're going to see the Epstein files?
Nope.
If somebody has them and they are still extorting money from the people involved, we're never, and if those people are the right people, they're highly placed people.
Yeah.
Of government, we're never going to see them.
Well, it is also kind of interesting too that with these files coming out right now, we'll talk about that in the next hour, the JFK files, and they're shining a light on incompetence in the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, and various intelligence arms under that umbrella, military, all kinds of things right around the world. But they're not really saying what they need to say about it. It's kind of like sidestepping it a little bit and just saying, well, you had a couple of bad apples, or it was move along. It was just, the time and don't look here kind of thing. But there's so much more to that. And so I'm wondering why they're doing that right now. They're kind of letting people peek into the CIA, which they used to never do. And now it's a little bit, I don't know, there's something going on here for sure. There's some kind of game because they don't like talking about how evil that whole operation is. So this will be kind of interesting.
Is it better to be regarded as incompetent or is it better to be regarded as the enemy of the people?
Yeah, which they've always been, by the way. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean.
So maybe, and by the way, I think, yet again, I think it was George Webb who pointed out just today that we're still short the number of documents that they promised. They said 80,000 pages and it's only like 65,000, I believe.
It takes a lot of time to create stuff. So I don't think they're revealing it so much stuff as they're creating it. But yeah. I
will be fascinated to see if we actually get the RFK murder stuff. If we actually get MLK stuff.
The RFK mind control murder. Yeah.
Powerful people, powerful men are easily distracted by truly gorgeous women.
Yeah.
And that's the MO here.
Yes.
That's it's with all three, with Diddy, with Epstein, with Manson.
And then the money in the background. Money, if the financial stuff in the background, because that was always too at the helm.
There's always kind of a secondary thing going, whether it's we have a way to make you fabulously wealthy, or we have, look at this, we have free LSD, we can make you a better performer, we can make, enhance your creativity, whatever it is.
Right.
But in the end, it's always the women.
Interesting.
The women are the linchpin because that seals the deal.
All right.
Once they get video of
Thanks,
that,
Melissa. Melissa, Midwest Melissa, and of course, always in this hour on Wednesday, coming up with Susan Reeve when I come back. And thank you, Melissa. And of course, KateDalleyRadio.com. Join me in the next hour on the flip side of the break. Be right back.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
President and Mrs. Kennedy, a warm welcome. The usual welcoming committee presents Mrs. Kennedy with a bouquet of red roses.
President's car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the Trade Mart. I was on Simmons Freeway earlier, and even the freeway was jam-packed with spectators waiting their chance to see the president as he made his way towards the Trade Mart. It appears as though something has happened in the motorcade route. Something, I repeat, has happened in the motorcade route. There's numerous people running up the hill alongside Elm Street, there by the Simmons Freeway. Several police officers are rushing up the hill at this time. Stand by just a moment, please. Something has happened in the motorcade route. Stand by, please. Parkland Hospital, there has been a shooting. Parkland Hospital has been advised to stand by for a severe gunshot wound. I repeat.
Sad day in America. And of course, the JFK murder out in front of everybody. And many will say that this was displaying the CIA power, the intelligence apparatus around the world's power. It's bigger than the CIA. But of course contains with this, is with the CIA, but that it was the move that showcased that they were now 100% in charge of the presidency at that point, sort of displaying their power and then forming a ridiculous Warren Commission to then lie about the details. So the files, some of the files have been released. Susan Reeve is with me in this hour. How are you, Susan?
Hey, I'm doing great. If drinking from a fire hose is a great activity.
From a fire
people,
hose.
stop praying for more releases because this was
interesting.
Although there's a lot of cynicism, like, oh, there's no new stuff. Oh, we've known this before.
Mm-hmm.
But you know who I listened to was Mike Benz, who has been trying, he's a whistleblower, worked for the State Department, understands how deep government works.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, this is amazing stuff. He said, it has really pulled back. Maybe we've known this stuff before, but we haven't really seen the underlying mechanisms of all this subterfuge and how our government works around the world.
It was interesting to see the Daily Caller, which is very, I would say, conservative. They put it out there as conservative, and I'm conservative, but they said JFK files revealed new depths of CIA incompetence, which that word incompetence instead of what the CIA is actually really up to, which is pretty evil stuff. It was kind of weird to see them sort of, go, oh, it's just incompetence, which I thought was weird. The other thing is that my big question is, are they still saying that are the papers still really saying that Lee Harvey Oswald did it? The lone gunman?
They're giving that insinuation based on what's released so far. So because this is what's been released, it's 80,000 pages, but it's 1,000 PDFs. Okay. So you go into the National Archives, you click on one of the PDFs, or you get a reference number, which is a 13-digit number. So if somebody says, oh, look at this, you have to go with the 13-digit number.
Okay.
But when you get to the documents, like one I looked at is 145 pages, and you can't search it. So it's not a text document. These are photographs. So I figured something out, which is you can go to AI, went to Grok on X, and I said, can you summarize this or find this wording? I was looking for anonymous caller. That somebody said, oh, an anonymous caller said the day ahead that Oswald would be assassinated. And it popped up the reference and the page number. So it is able to optically scan it and then find the word itself by looking for the word, not by texting, So that was really interesting to me. It says, so what this focus has been on, it's been on the CIA surveillance of Lee Harvey Oswald in Mexico City. And they said up to 59 days ahead of time, they were surveilling him. He had gone to the Mexico, to the Soviet embassy, trying to apply for a visa to the Soviet Union. But that's why I think the Daily Caller may be suggesting that this was incompetence, like you're on him, but you didn't do anything. So they're saying, you're right, that's incompetence. And we're saying, no, this is something else.
And yet he worked for the CIA. So that's kind of interesting too. So I wonder if the setup was on as the patsy and that was what that 60 days was for.
Yeah, it goes more into Castro assassination plots and then operational details like wiretapping methods. So it doesn't, I was going to talk about Jack Ruby because there are a few things dealing with Jack Ruby, and people know very little. They go, a nightclub owner. People may not know his name was Jack Rubenstein. And he grew up in a Jewish family in Chicago. I grew up in Chicago. And he was one of 15 kids, dropped out of school in 6th grade, and was kind of he'd been arrested 9 times. I mean, this was like on the darker, seedy side of life. And he came to Dallas and he was involved with strip clubs. You know, they called them nightclubs, where the police officers, many of them were strip clubs. But people have forgotten, because it wasn't released in this batch. It's been released previously, that Jack Ruby, was an FBI informant in Dallas from March to October 1959, meeting Agent Charles W. Flynn 8 or 9 times. He was an FBI informant.
So now we know why and how he got out of his trouble from being arrested so many times, as they turned him right into an asset. Yeah.
I mean, they said, you can help us out and we won't, press all these charges against you. But it says a declassified letter from Hoover of March of 1959 authorizes Ruby's recruitment as a potential criminal informant, but notes his info was vague, mostly about rival club owners. But then I think they figured that he was too unreliable, and so they kind of dropped him after a while. But it's not like he didn't know them and they didn't know him.
Right, and then gave him like they had been working on all those cancer causing things that they could do as a weapon, right? Because they were looking at doing that against Castro, and so kind of interesting that all of a sudden he wound up with a very alarming fast cancer, right? That killed him.
Very fast, yes, very fast acting cancer, which killed him. But this new release suggests that he was motivated by being Jewish. And it's a very odd reference, because what it references is a conversation that he had with a Secret Service agent while he was incarcerated. And the person talking to the Warren Commission was somebody who was in the room, and just talked about what Jack Ruby had said about, doing this for Jewish identity and to show that we're not a bunch of rats. And now this is really like secondhand, because you're not being told this directly, you're listening in on another conversation. So, and then reporting that. So how accurate that was, I don't know. But this idea that he did it, which was the official explanation, to alleviate Jacqueline Kennedy from having to go through a trial, is so basically absurd.
It is.
You can't. Because assassins plan to get away. Any assassin, and he'd been in the criminal underworld for most of his life, they plan to get away. And he was caught. So there was no plan.
I think there were a lot of Americans I think there were more Americans questioning what they were seeing than we also think there was at the time. I think we think kind of everybody just went along with what they were told, but I actually think a lot of more people were questioning. Because nothing was adding up from the very beginning. It was very strange.
you had a lot of people who were eyewitnesses on the site, but there really wasn't social media to get things out about that, right? And right away, things were shut down with a narrative. Hoover, immediately after Ruby killed Oswald, went into protection mode to make sure people understood, there was no connection to any outside issues. I mean, I think he was afraid about Israel. That people would look at Israel and say, wait a minute, because, people in that period of time could look at Jews suspiciously. I mean, there was still that prejudice, which was not correct.
But they should have been looking sideways at Mossad, because Mossad has always been sideways. So it's like we have a hard time separating the two. You know what I mean? Like their intelligence versus the people. So just like we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But just to know that Hoover initiated all these actions to stop any speculation about outside forces based on I just thought that was really interesting. And what people don't know is the cynics may say there's nothing new. Oh, we already knew this. We already knew that. Most people don't know a lot about this topic.
Okay.
They know some things.
But they don't know all the ins and outs. I mean, there were a lot of whistleblowers that were murdered in order to keep the narrative going. The Warren Commission was ridiculous. But as far as these new papers, did anything come shooting out of it that you were surprised at, that you hadn't looked at before?
There were. What was interesting to me is that Mike Benz was absolutely giddy with excitement. And he said what it revealed, and he gave an example, that there is a document that shows all the businesses that were CIA fronts. They were regular appearing businesses, but they were actually CIA fronts. And one of them was a big reconstruction company. And Halliburton eventually bought that company. But the president was a CIA operative. And he said, to look down this extensive list and recognize people look at these businesses as legitimate, and they were CIA front businesses.
Yeah.
And, this, he said, is ripping off the cupboard that in the past, people would say, well, that's just a conspiracy. He's like, now I have a document. Now I have an unredacted document showing the proof. And that's going to be the big story, I think, going forward as more people put the pieces together.
Wow, interesting. Okay, we're going to come right back. We've got more on this, and it's interesting that they will never really give us everything. They won't, and a lot of stuff was classified as going to be reviewed again in like 2038 or something, some weird year. Anyway, we'll come back to that too. I'll ask Susan about that. Be right back. By the way, you can go to mypillow.com and grab those pillows for $14 right now using the code Kate. I'd go do it. mypillow.com, and the code is Kate. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show. $14 for MyPillow. That's awesome. Be right back.
Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
There's a man with a gun over there.
All right, welcome back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com, little Buffalo Springfield for you. And of course, I've got Susan on with me. Make sure and go and hit allfamilypharmacy.com. You can actually do pharma or pharmacy.com, allfamilypharmacy.com. You can get scripts sent to your door without having to try to go find a doctor to get this or for refills. you can go right to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate, and you get buy one, get one free right now. Take advantage of it. This was a huge, huge thing in November that they did. So many people were able to take advantage of this. Ivermectin and fembenzoyl, I take them together, as many of the doctors have said on the show, and what a combination to get rid of parasites. It's amazing. So please go there and get that. And you can get as much as you want, as many refills as you want. And these are doctor scripts. They actually have them in-house. And it's really a great way to do it right here in the good old USA. So allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. And take advantage of that BOGO. Buy one, get one. All right, Susan. So let's talk about Oswald.
Yeah, so
shooters.
One of the documents that came out was that Lee Harvey Oswald was known to be a poor shot when he tried to target firing in the U.S. in the Soviet Union, and that has always been a point of contention. Now there's a document that says it because other people say, "Oh no, he was good," but that is a very difficult shot to take. So I have been to Dealey Plaza. I have been in the spot in the 6th floor looking out that window. And there was an elm tree in the way, but it was winter, so there were fewer leaves on it. But what's so strange, as you stand there looking straight out the window, Houston Avenue comes straight at you. So he was supposed to go straight down Main Street and not go near the depository. And then things got changed. Other people say, no, that's not the case. And other people say, no, there's news headlines publishing the map that was different the days before. But he made a right turn, his driver did, on Houston. So it was headed straight for the book depository. Now, if you were trying to make a shot, we were all standing there, including my husband, who had been, very involved with shooting and whatnot, and it's flat, it's straight, and you have an entire city block to aim. Contrast, and then he makes this sharp turn because it's a little more than a right turn because it goes into a winding road and it goes down. So the speculation had been that the reason they wanted him to go down that route, the criminal conspiracy people who were thinking this indeed was an actual conspiracy, said that had he been shot at on Houston when he was coming straight out the building, that his driver could have taken off straight past the building and just gone on. However, if he makes this turn, of course you can't shoot straight down, but now it was over 200 feet by the time he was in a position to be shot, clearing the tree. But it also put him next to what they called the grassy knoll. So the grassy knoll to the right of the car is actually quite elevated. It is actually not just a little slope, it's quite a slope. And unless you're there like walking the area, walking the grass on the other side, it's really impossible to understand how much of a funnel this was to go under the freeway.
Right.
And so even if he was shot at by or near or right after the tree and the driver accelerated, there would be more shots coming at him. So that is how people see it. In addition, and this was one of the most interesting things I have read about it, didn't come out just recently. The building immediately to the east of the book depository, just right across just a few lanes of traffic, was a similar sized building called the Dow Tex building, and it was like a textile headquarters building. Now, Abraham Zapruder, who
took the
Zapruder film, yes, he worked on the second floor of that building. But there was speculation that there were, and like some data points that suggest there were mafia people on the top of that building.
Yeah.
Who were then able to fire straight down Elm Street. And so those were the straight shots.
Okay.
And
we're gonna go to break. Stay right with me. We're gonna go to break. They also I thought that the papers also disclosed CIA agent Alex Mason, who they said was the second shooter, and then he disappeared in 1989. But I actually don't know if I believe it. To tell you the truth. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show. Be right back.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, freaky song, right? Ugh. Welcome back. A little Donovan for you. I've got Susan Reeve with me in this hour. She comes on every Wednesday and is doing a deep dive through the JFK files to see if there was anything there. My gut feeling is always that they're busy, and right or wrong, my gut feeling, I'll share that with you because I always do, is that they're creating things. But it is kind of interesting to peruse what the crux of the story is from them. So in unveiling, quote unquote, all these documents, it's interesting what they want. I think what they want us to think, or the roads that they want us to go down. And so these documents are kind of interesting, kind of fascinating. And so we're hitting those today. And I've got Susan with me, also CozyEarth.com, and you can get fantastic loungewear, slippers, bath, everything. Everything they do is like the height of luxury, but you get 40% off with the code Kate. It also helps this show stay on the air. All the sponsors do. So if you do that, please go to KateDalleyRadio.com and scroll down. You'll find the podcast of this here live show. And that's on radio all throughout the country. And then also you can share that with friends and family too. And also on xamericanews.com. So go ahead and visit there and you can watch it for free on X at night as well. All right. So, but go to CozyEarth.com. Code word is Kate, by the way, to take advantage of that 40% off. It's an amazing deal for you and helps us stay on the air. So Susan, all right, let's pick this up again. So Alex Mason, from what I understand, was one of the shooters that just suddenly died or disappeared in '89. So it's almost like, so we can't prosecute it. So, oh, well, so here's this guy who we've never mentioned who could possibly be one of the shooters, but never mind because he disappeared and he was part of the CIA. Don't look here. So who knows where that story, why that story is there, or that's just what I've seen. But anyway, so let's go to the other ones, the other shooters.
Yeah. Oh, well, this was somebody who actually died. And it looked, they said it was suicide, and he had been an intelligence agent during World War II. His name was J. Garrett Underhill. Mm-hmm. And he was a recognized authority on limited warfare small arms, and he was a researcher and writer. And right after the shooting, he went to friends in New Jersey, very, very shaken, and said he was very agitated, and a small clique within the CIA was responsible for assassinations, he confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. And then less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it a suicide. So the actual document from 1967 came out about that from Ramparts magazine. But, you know, it says he was on intimate terms with a number of high-ranking CIA officials. He was one of the agency's, quote, people who performed, quote, special assignments. And so, you know, it's the dark, shady group, and he panicked, and then so people could say, oh, his mental health was bad, he committed suicide. But yes, it's a very unusual death. And then there was a book written about another unusual death, and that was a woman who had had an affair with JFK during the time right before he'd been assassinated. In fact, a 2-year period. He had known her in college, and her name was Mary Meyer, and she was married to Cord Meyer. And Cord Meyer was a CIA, I thought he was the head of the CIA, or it was at Angleton. Anyway, as happens, she was assassinated the next year in October, walking along a path in Georgetown, super, safe area. They pinned it on a guy who was sitting there fishing, a black guy, and then he was exonerated. It was a very famous trial. But counterintelligence official James Angleton found out about this and knew that there was a diary. And he and Ben Bradley of the Washington Post decided to break into her house and get the diary. So this was like a big, 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 big deal. But she was shot once above the ear and once at the back of the head. Now, somebody who is, robbing you is not going to shoot you like that.
Right.
So it looks like it does look like, to me, it looks like an assassination. And then the murder was never solved. So that was just one more of the very mysterious deaths surrounding this whole thing. Yeah, it was very interesting. So we learned that he was a bad shot. We learned that the CIA was indexing a mail headed to the Soviet Union, and that they had 300 people working at the CIA indexing 250,000 names that they were keeping track of in the Soviet Union. So, they were highly motivated. They were highly, highly motivated. It says Schlesinger told JFK the State Department had become a rubber stamp for CIA clandestine operations, and that the concept of contingency planning has legitimized the concrete preparation of operations still in a hypothetical stage. So they were just so trigger happy. And, that was one of the things that JFK did not want to do. He did not want to be pressured. He had traveled the world. He did not necessarily believe in getting involved in other governments, like manipulating them. He did not want to go into Cuba and really put up a fight about that. Anyway, so it's more things like that, more revealing the messy nature of the CIA.
Right.
And it also said that it listed 34 secret field bases across Africa, Europe, Asia, and Latin America. They're CIA's extensive global planning operations. So these were secret bases, not like embassies. And that JFK sought to dismantle the CIA's independent authority. So we're seeing some of that today. Any organization, my deceased husband had worked in organizational design, and he said eventually organizations their main focus becomes to self-perpetuate. That is becomes their motivation. Can we see that today in what's going on in Washington, D.C.?
It was also interesting, too. Roger Stone put out, President Nixon told me that the Warren Commission was the biggest, I can't say the word hoax, in American history. And he told me that Lyndon Johnson and I both wanted to be president. The difference was, this is Nixon talking, I wasn't willing to kill for it. Interesting things coming out of Roger. I've had Roger on the show, so it was interesting to hear Roger Stone say that. He's an interesting character in all of this.
And he's written a book about it, and very interesting insights. And he does put Hoover behind it, and he does put Johnson and Allen Dulles behind it. And it's kind of creepy flying into Dulles, at National Airport, International Airport.
I think the Secret Service definitely was part of it. I think that's why they removed all of JFK's jewelry, except for the watch that Jackie gave him that he wore. You can see it in pictures, but they removed everything else from him right before he went out. So there had to be some kind of knowing there of what they were going to allow to happen. And I think Lyndon B. Johnson was going to go to prison if he for murder if he didn't make the presidency. So I think that there was so much going on behind the scenes that a lot of people didn't want to really look at. But it is kind of fascinating because it tells us some of the game plans, right? That's really what we're talking about today, is what they get away with or how they get away with things. And that, are they getting away with them now? You bet your bottom dollar. So I'll be right back. More with Susan coming back. Stay with us. Stay with us. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
The winter is forbidden till December.
That's Richard Burton singing that very famous song in connection with JFK and his wife. I'm just going to say that there was a whole lot of narratives going on at the time. And I think that honestly, people should truly take a second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth looks at everything we were told during this period of time. I'll just say that. All right. Welcome back. I've got Susan Reeve with me. She was looking at the JFK files. Finally, some released, not all, but some. And so, all right, let's keep going.
Okay. Well, I wanted to mention there's a website that's actually really fantastic. Dealey Plaza National Historic Landmark District, and it's the 6th floor museum. But it's at dealeyplaza.jfk.org, and it's interactive, Dealey, D-E-A-L-E-Y, Plaza. So I recommend, people, students, now you're not going to get alternative theories on there, but you're going to get the layout of the area, and you're going to be able to move through the area virtually. It's very cool. Okay, so one of the things that was released was records exposed a failed 1955 CIA surveillance operation in Havana. That declassified records said this was an operation gone wrong. CIA agents rented an apartment above a Chinese intelligence. Oh my gosh, a Chinese intelligence office, and attempted to plant evidence or plant transmitters. And they were busted. 3 CIA techs were caught mid-install. How embarrassing, leading to arrest and espionage charges. 2 operatives escaped to D.C., but the tech team remained jailed in Cuba. Oh my gosh, we were kind of Keystone Cops trying to do this. Not sending our best and brightest, as they say. I don't know. They try and recruit the best and brightest. But, I have a theory that after World War II, you had a lot of talented people come back from the war and whatnot, but we lost a lot of people. So, we were operating in a deficit. I was going to say also that Mary Meyer, husband, actually, this is a different person, James McCord, was a CIA official, and he was involved in Cuban ops. And then a Polish driver called and claiming to be a Polish driver for a Russian vehicle, and said that the Soviets planned to pay someone in the U.S. to assassinate the president. Now, the thing about it is, we were talking before about the misinformation, it's called chaff. It's what jets do if they're trying to avoid a missile. They throw off all these other things that the missile will go after. It's called chaff, throwing up chaff. And that's kind of what we're looking at. You don't know what is real, what's not real, and what some of this could be disinformation. I mean, I started to think that, right? What is in here that I'm not seeing that is actually intended to mislead?
Right.
You go, well, it's President Trump, it's Kash Patel, it's DOJ. They're on our side now.
Well,
we don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know that for 100% in all matters, right?
Of course. Yeah. All government is government. Yep.
Yeah. So it says an interview by the assistant FBI director asked whether Ruby and Oswald worked together, and then a bunch of pages are missing.
Yeah.
So the PDF is 473 pages, but there's only 52 pages.
Yeah.
So you get that question about whether they'd ever seen or known each other, and then missing pages.
Interesting. And
that's a mystery, right?
Yeah. Always the missing pages. And then, of course, the KGB, the story that the KGB wouldn't accept Oswald because he was a terrible shot. I don't buy that. So I'm like, I think he was chosen as a patsy long before this was to play out. Dr. Mary's monkey talks about him too. We've talked about him. And George Bush Sr., of course, could never remember where he was on that fateful day, which is very strange because everyone can tell you where they were on that fateful day except for George H. Bush. So
And there was a photograph of the book depository with a person who looks just like him, George H.W. Bush, leaning up against the wall, just like him.
I know.
Very coincidental.
Yeah, there was the phone call with him and Hoover. There was all kinds of stuff. And, of course, buried in George's bio forever. There was 10 years completely buried where I think he was literally working for the CIA. And then, of course, his years with Standard with the oil company after that, but which is also a CIA front. But so amazing, all of the cover up, because like even with George's bio missing 10 years, I don't know how many people even pick up on that. It's like there was so many. I think there's just so much more here that could have been released. I don't think they ever will. Do you? They just won't because why do they have to now? Yeah. No one's gonna.
Right. We're gonna feast on this for a while, and there's so many loose ends. I mean, you could have people have a whole degree in the JFK assassination because endless threads.
Yes. Yes. And so as we move forward, knowing that we probably weren't going to get what we really need to understand this and how big and broad the picture is with the CIA. I have a feeling that, they'll leak out some more stuff. Who knows if it's created or if it's an actual reveal, but I just think the whole thing is bizarre. And the date of 2028, why did that keep coming up? That was odd too. Like wouldn't be reviewed until 2038. Sorry. 2038. That was weird.
Yeah. Somebody picked this far in the future, hoping some of us would be dead by then. Certainly all the people involved would mostly, be deceased. You would have had to be very young. I was 3 at the time. So I'm getting up there.
Yeah. And the Warren Commission, was alleging that Lee Harvey Oswald, who had no powder burns on his chest, arms, or hands, shot JFK. I would hope that now people would finally take, after the COVID hoax, I hope people would actually look back on this story. If you lived through this story, if you were alive in this time and lived through this, that you would actually take a second, third, fourth, fifth look at it, especially after they were able to get away with Blovid, because it blows, the Blovid COVID hoax. We should get a lot smarter now at their reveals and at the things that they do too. I just think that we need to learn something from how they conducted COVID. And I think a lot of people are now sort of kind of figuring out that they haven't been our friend. They're not in your corner in America, and that these intelligence apparatuses are heavy in media, heavy everywhere. And we better start understanding what we're up against, right? I so appreciate you, Susan. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you. And interesting reveal on JFK. And also be faithful, be fearless. See you back here tomorrow. And got a lot for you tomorrow. I got a lot. And you can call in tomorrow too. All right, you guys, see you tomorrow. KateDalleyRadio.com for the podcast.